وشفيع نفوسنا أبا القاسم محمد طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها، وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الله. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: يا بني آدم قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى ذلك خير. The first of our loud salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second of our loud salawat in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with even louder voices in honor of Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Sabah. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The subject of the veil and female and male interaction within the world today is one of the most hotly discussed issues in the Islamic world. And indeed is an issue that has to be examined in depth in order that we are able to not only help ourselves understand the boundaries that have been set, but also help others understand the philosophy of the veil within the world today, and indeed within human history. Hence we noticed when we discuss this area, many human beings seek to understand what are the boundaries of male and female relationships. And the idea that the human being is a social animal. The microphone's too high. The microphone's too high. And the idea that the human being is a social animal and therefore constantly interacting with the opposite sex. Yet then the discussion arises as to what is allowed in interaction and what is not allowed. There is a need for a person to understand within the world of jurisprudence when they have to observe a veil and when they are allowed to remove the veil. With whom do they observe this veil and with whom do they not have to observe this veil? And the idea that there is much controversy in many communities as to certain rituals which we undertake and the observance of certain rituals, and whether these actually accept the hijab or reject the hijab. And indeed, the topic which is being discussed on the veil is a topic which has political as well as social connotations. Politically, the subject of the veil and male-female interaction is a subject which is discussed within many political circles in the world today. For example, you find that France has placed a ban on the veil, and in their own opinion, the veil should not be worn in certain institutions. And you found that this brought about much controversy. And until today, in virtually every circle in the world, there is a discussion about the veil. For example, at Imperial College University in London, there was a major controversy about whether a Muslim female should be allowed to wear the veil where everything is covered except her eyes. The veil that is known as the niqab. And whether this female was allowed to enter the examination hall with such a veil. You find, therefore, that Jack Straw, who is part of the parliament, came forward with a statement looking at the concept of the veil. You found it in France. You even found it only within a week of passing in Quebec, and indeed in Montreal, where there was an 11-year-old female Muslim soccer player. 11-year-old female Muslim soccer player who took part in a tournament by the name of Ammar Mansour. She took part in this tournament, and she plays with a team where the majority of the players are not necessarily Muslim, and she plays in a tournament which wasn't organized by Muslims. In the first two matches, she was allowed to play without anyone complaining. Yet then what happened was, in the third match, the referee, who ironically happened to be a Muslim, came forward and said to her that you are not allowed to play because according to the regulations of the tournament, a girl who wears hijab cannot be on the football pitch. Therefore, you found that there was uproar which was caused. And the uproar was caused mainly because of the support she received from her fellow players. The fellow females who weren't even Muslims said, if she doesn't play, none of us play. And it highlighted to you the power of the veil within Western circles. that those other players who do not wear a veil recognize that this is our friend, and there is more to the veil than meets the eye. There is more to this human being than meets the eye. And therefore they all left the tournament and said, we forfeit all our matches. Likewise, you had in Canada as well, there was a tournament where 5 female Muslim women took part in Taekwondo. And when they took part, they were also banned from taking part because, again, it was against regulations. And recently, again in Montreal, there was the case of a female prison guard. A female prison guard wants to work within the prison system. She was banned from working because according to the prison system, a lady cannot observe the veil while protecting closed bars. And therefore, when you look at this area, the area is of the utmost importance from this angle. Socially, it's of the utmost importance because on a daily basis in our communities, we come forward and discuss male and female relationships, and we seek to define an understanding of what is the meaning of mahram and na-mahram. In our discussions, we come forward and we see on an everyday basis there is a question being asked. For example, in the world of work, how many of us come and ask the question that if a lady comes forward to put her hand to shake our hands, are we expected to hold our hand back? Or do you really expect us to come and wear gloves? Or do you really expect us to move away when this deal is worth millions? Here, some people ask the question that surely I am causing ridicule towards that lady, because when that lady comes to shake my hand and I move my hand away, she may be affected by my course of action. And so we face on an everyday basis at work this question, that if I am coming to shake the hand of a lady, or indeed for our sisters, when they go for an interview at university, or when they go for their graduation ceremony at the university, you're at your graduation ceremony, and you're coming to pick up your certificate, and the person puts his hand up who's the dean of the university. If you shake his hand, everyone moves on in life. If you do not shake his hand, people may look down at you. So you find in the world of work, we encounter the problem. You find in the world of education, we encounter the problem. You find within our own communities, we encounter the problem. For example, this summer, many of us will be going to weddings. And we may be going to weddings this summer of a particular way which is mixed. Like we may be in a hall where there may be many women, for example, who are observing the hijab of the cloth, but are talking with everyone in the community and are moving around from table to table. Or we may find men who move around from table to table, sitting with those who are mahram to them and those who aren't mahram. Our youth face a tricky dilemma in this area, because a female or a male, sometimes the parents will tell them, you have to come with me to the wedding. The female may say, but mom, the family we're going to, we know there's no hijab observed in their wedding, and we know they mix freely. The mom or the dad may reply, yes, but they're our cousins, and if we don't go to our cousins, it's looked down upon. What is the daughter and the son meant to do? Are they meant to A, go with their parents to the gathering because of obedience to their parents? Or are they B, meant to tell their parents that the only reason Allah asked me to obey you was when you were obeying Him. The moment you disobey Him, I have to disobey you. Here is another dilemma which arises within the world of wedding. A fourth dilemma is with our cousins. If I was brought up with my cousin for 20 years, some will say, come on, it's like my sister. You don't really think anything's going to happen. But then am I allowed to touch her? Am I allowed to hug her if I haven't seen her for a while? If it's her wedding day, can I come and kiss her? Or no? Even though she's getting married to someone else, I've been brought up with her all my life. She's like a sister to me. Islam didn't say she's a sister. You said she's like a sister. And so here is another area with our cousins. A fifth area about male and female relationship and the issue of the veil, how important it is socially, is on the internet. High Five, MySpace, Facebook, all of these which we have today, MSN. When you have all of these, some will come and ask the question, am I allowed to, for example, as a male, have a female on my MSN? And if I have that female, what type of interaction can I have with her? Can I write laughing out loud with her? Can I send her a smiley, or can I blow a kiss? Some will come and ask these questions, because the reality is that we can see our children on the internet, and in some cases we forget that the world of the internet has its positives and it has its negatives. that you find that if there isn't parental supervision, there is no limit to what the child may see on the internet. On things such as these areas like Facebook and High Five, am I allowed to leave my picture there or no? As a girl who wears hijab, yes, I'm wearing hijab, but everyone can see my face. And everyone may be able to see my friends' faces. And everyone may even be able to see the comments we have. Yes? And even further than this, you find that on some of these in the world today, hijab goes completely out of the window. As I remember the example of one person who had told me about someone's profile. The girl has put her picture with hijab. MashaAllah, excellent. What's your favorite book? Quran. Brilliant. What's your favorite musician? Justin Timberlake. Yeah? Quran, Timberlake. It's contradictory. But you find here it's written down, favorite book, Quran, favorite musician, Timberlake. And on top of that, when you open the page, who comes on? Is it the Quran that's being played? No, Mr. Timberlake gets ahead of the Quran when you open the page. So here you find that in this world, it's male and female relationship again, because someone has it in their mind the following thought. Someone, when they're on the MSN, thinks, well, I'm speaking to a female, but I can't see her hair, and I'm not really getting close to her, so why is that obstructing hijab? Because the mentality with all of us in the world of hijab is that we only assume hijab as a piece of cloth. That's it. If someone wears a piece of cloth, we think that's enough, without realizing to the hijab that there are aspects which are social and there are aspects which are physical. That's why many of us today are bombarded with male and female relationships that are spiraling out of control. They are going out of control to an extent in the West today that you find nudity is a norm. Let me give you an example. Many of you would have heard of Jude Law, the actor Jude Law, or you find Sienna Miller or Keira Knightley. These are just names I've heard of in my research. When you look at these names within the world of acting, you find each one of them has their own lifestyle. They're actors. Our children or our youth all watch movies, and invariably, more often than not, they may have come across these three names. Jude Law is taken as a role model by some, and Jude Law was involved in an extramarital affair in a part of London, they call it Primrose Hill. You've heard of Primrose Hill near Regent's Park? He was involved in an extramarital affair where he was with Sienna Miller, and I'm going to connect all of them now. He was with Sienna Miller, but he decided that he wanted to have a relationship with the maid. Sienna Miller recently was involved in a film called Factory Girl. And within this film, there are scenes of nudity where the West doesn't really mind. The more nudity, the better. And then, recently, Sienna Miller and Keira Knightley have come together in a film which will come out in a few months, where both of them are naked in many scenes in the film, and they are smiling about the openness now of male and female relationships. When our youth and our adults are bombarded by such themes, and they face the peer pressure at school, did you watch that film? Do you have a girlfriend? Who do you like the most from the actresses? We find that some of them may buckle under pressure, whereas others of them may remain strong. And that's why it's vital that when we discuss the subject of male-female relationships and the subject of what is mahram and what's not mahram under the issue of the veil, we discuss it by taking a point in history. That if the sexual energy in the human being overflows and is not controlled, it can destroy a whole community. If you do not control the sexual energy within a human being, communities may be destroyed. Imam Zayn al-Abidin, salawatullah wa salamu alayhi. He narrates that on our way to Karbala, my father would always narrate the story of Prophet Yahya. He said, I wondered, why is my father always narrating the same story? Prophet Yahya, Prophet Yahya, Prophet Yahya. He narrates, when you look at the story of Prophet Yahya, you find that the overflow of sexual energy, if it's not channeled, or if we do not explain the meaning of hijab as a philosophy within mankind, it can completely destroy a nation. Why? Prophet Yahya was living in the time of this king. This king was married to a lady. The lady had a stepdaughter. This lady had known that she wanted the king to remain in power, but with someone from within her line. So what she did, she bought this beautiful girl, her stepdaughter, and she said to the king, you can have her if you want. The king said, I want to first go and ask Prophet Yahya. And when I asked Prophet Yahya, I want to see what his opinion on this is according to Sharia. When he went to Prophet Yahya came to him and said, you are not allowed to marry her according to Sharia. The king said, no problem, and he wasn't going to marry her. One day, what she did, she brought her in her finest garments, looking the best, with all her best parts showing in the most beautiful way. She brought her to the king. The king was intoxicated. She said to the king, do you want the girl? And the king said, yes, of course I do. As the king was coming near her, the lady said, stop. I'll give you the girl if you bring me Yahya's head. The king said, that I cannot do. She said, then you can't have the female. So what did the king do? He went to his advisors. He said to them, this is what I have to do. They said to him, if you kill Prophet Yahya, his blood will continue to flow forever because of your killing. He went about and he ordered that Prophet Yahya become killed. Prophet Yahya was eventually martyred because of the overflow of desire in a world where there was no such thing as na mahram. What you found was that Imam Zain al-Abidin said that Imam al-Hussein kept on narrating the story. Why? He said, only when I reached Sham did I realize why he was narrating the story. He said, because in Sham I saw the head of my father on a plate in the hand of an illicit female, in the same way Nabi Yahya's head was brought in the plate in the hands of an illicit female. The idea was that history repeats itself. There are certain times in history where the overflow of sexual energy, without it being controlled, and without jurisprudence having a part within the discussion, can lead to the destruction of our communities. That's why when we discuss this area of hijab within male and female relationships, many of us seek to look at understanding the philosophy of hijab. Rather than condemning our people for not wearing, what we are looking to do is to educate the world about the meaning of the veil and the components of the veil and the many strands of the veil. And arguably one of the most beautiful verses to examine in order to understand the meaning and the different components of hijab is Surah 7 verse 26, which I have quoted at the beginning of the lecture. What does the verse say? Let us dissect it and then you'll see the meaning. The verse says, Ya Bani Adam, O son of Adam, قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى. O son of Adam, we have sent down to you a clothing which protects your private parts and which beautifies you, and the clothing which is named taqwa. The verse, when it is dissected, has to be dissected in the following way. Number one, why does Allah begin a verse, O son of Adam? Number two, why does Allah say we have sent down to you clothing? Don't our clothes come from the earth? Number three, what is meant when Allah says the clothing which protects your private parts? What is the discussion here? Number four, what does Allah mean when He says, and the clothing which beautifies you? Can hijab beautify us or no? Number five, what is the meaning of hijab of taqwa? Is it physical or is it spiritual? Let's examine this verse and see what we conclude. Ya Bani Adam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala begins verses in the Quran in three different ways. The first way which He begins a verse in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas. The second way, Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu. The third way, Ya Bani Adam. Why does Allah begin verses with these ways? The first way is what? Ya ayyuhan nas, O mankind. Whenever a verse in the Quran begins with Ya ayyuhan nas, the meaning is that this verse is addressing the people of Mecca. What do we mean? It's addressing the people of Mecca, and the idea that any verse which begins with Ya ayyuhan nas is addressing the issues of usul ad-din. Because when Rasulullah was speaking to the people of Mecca, you didn't need to go into furu' ad-din. At the beginning, you're discussing the usul. So you look at the verses which begin with Ya ayyuhan nas, they always focus on tawheed, or they focus on nubuwwah, or they focus on the day of judgment. Why? Because the Meccans didn't believe in these areas. So when a verse began with Ya ayyuhan nas, it was discussing with them the pillars of their religion, or the religion of Islam. But when a verse began with Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu, It was looking to focus at the people of Medina. Why? You've already now spoken to Mecca. You are now building the Islamic State in Medina. The people you are now addressing are whom? They are Muslims, they are believers. So the Quran addresses them, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu. For example, the verse is, Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la tuqaddimu bayna yaday Allah wa rasulah. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, in ja'akum fasiqun binaba'in fatabayyanu. Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, la yaskhar qawmun min qawmin asa an yakunu khayran minhum. Here, when Allah begins a verse with Ya ayyuhalladhina amanu, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is addressing is the people of Medina. Ya ayyuhan nas, the people of Mecca. But then why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this verse say Ya bani Adam? Why doesn't he begin the discussion of hijab with Ya ayyuhan nas or Ya ayyuhal ladhina amanu? The reason is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wanted to show us that the subject under discussion is a subject related to all of mankind, not only the people of Mecca and Medina. It is a subject which has been discussed before the people of Mecca and the people of Medina. It is a subject which is in the religions which came before the people of Mecca and the people of Medina. Because when you look at the subject of clothing, you find that this is a subject which came pre-Islam, not only during the time of Islam, and it is a subject which is discussed in every generation. Why? Clothing today, every job has clothing. A nurse's clothing is different from a lawyer's clothing. A lawyer's clothing is different from a doctor's clothing. A doctor's clothing is different from the sportsman's clothing. A sportsman's clothing is different from the teacher's clothing. Every nation has a form of clothing within them. Not only this, every single nation has a road which devotes itself to clothing. You go to New York, Fifth Avenue. Go to Los Angeles, Rodeo Drive. Go to London, Old Bond Street. Go, for example, to France, Champs-Élysées. All of these are roads which are dedicated to the world of clothing. You find today there are magazines dedicated to clothing. Magazines like Vanity Fair, for example. A magazine like GQ, for example. All of these magazines are magazines which are dedicated to the world of clothing. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala began a discussion on hijab, He wanted to make clear that this discussion is a universal discussion, not a discussion on the people of Mecca and Medina only. Because before this religion, we have instilled the concept of hijab in those who have come before you. Why? Look in Christianity. Go to Paul's letter to Corinthians. Go to the chapter of Corinthians. Go to Paul's letter of Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 10 onwards. You'll find that Paul comes forward and says that the modest female is the one who covers her head. Within Christianity, the idea was that a female, her modesty was displayed by the fact that she covers her head. She doesn't let out her hair. That's why in the world today, within Christian circles, have you ever seen the nun? When you look at the nun, doesn't it sometimes tell you that the daughters of Al Muhammad leave a lot to be desired? Allahu Akbar. When a nun walks in the street and a Shia girl walks next to her, there are some Shia girls who've left so much exposed. And next to her is a lady who hasn't even heard of Zainab, yet somehow wears the hijab of Zainab. You find the nun, when you come to look at the nun, there is not a single piece of hair which is showing. On the basis of Paul's letter to Corinthians, Christianity had within its concept the idea that the female's modesty was within her dress. That's why we find within the discussions, when you ask a nun, why is it that you cover yourself in the way that you do? She'll tell you, it's not just because I love Mary. No, love is not enough. It's not as well enough for me to visit Mary. No. Nor is it enough for me just to cry for Mary. No. Mary, my love towards her can only be shown when I submit to a lifestyle like what she submitted to. Because sometimes when a female sees a role model, she can cry for her. Is that enough? No. You can go ziyarah to the place where she is buried. Is that enough? No. You can even do majalis for her. Is that enough? No. You can learn about her life. Is that enough? No. The moment you submit to the way she lived her life, that is when you show your love is unconditional. Not I'll hear about Zainab's hijab. but all the other areas I'll accept, but the hijab I'm still not sure about. The idea with the nun is that she says, yes, I love Mary, and I cry for Mary, and I visit Lourdes, or I visit Fatima in Portugal, but only when I wore the scarf can I say I truly submitted to the way of Mary. Therefore, when Allah began the verse, Ya Bani Adam, the idea was to show us that whenever you want to discuss hijab in the West or in the East, in any generation, discuss it that it's a universal concept, not an Islamic concept. It's a universal concept. Let's continue with the verse. Ya Bani Adam, قَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا. We have sent down for you a form of clothing. Do clothes come from heaven? So why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala state we have sent it down to you? Many ask the question, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا. But we know very well that clothes do not come from heaven. Clothes, for example, are manufactured. Or wool is taken naturally. Some clothes are condensed. Some clothes are compressed. Some clothes are stretched. So why does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say, we have sent it down to you? The reason is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is stating to us that the origin of the laws of your clothing began in the heavens and ends with the people of the earth. That when you want to know the meaning of hijab, hijab was not originated through the laws of the human. Hijab was originated by myself in the heavens. Because what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, there are certain necessities for the human being which we have originated the laws of in the heavens for the people of the earth. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew that the human being needs to breathe. So He made air ready for them as a natural law. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew the human being needs to eat. So He made sure that food is ready for them because it's a necessity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knew, for example, that we need to drink. So He made water readily available for us to go and drink from. Likewise, when it comes to the area of clothing, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He says, we have sent down to you clothing, the idea is that when it comes to the laws of hijab, before you even discuss which hijab is right and which isn't, when it comes to the laws of hijab, the laws of hijab began in the heavens towards the people of the earth. Continue with the verse and it says, Ya Bani Adam, قَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ لِبَاسًا يُوَارِ سَوْآتِكُمْ. The first type of hijab Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala discusses is the hijab which protects the private parts. In which idea? In the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes forward within this theory. This verse is known as from Ayat al-Ahkam. Ayat al-Ahkam means what? Means there are verses in the Quran which are used to make a law of fiqh. When we come, the ulama come, and they make a law of fiqh, they normally get a verse which is seen as a law. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, we have sent down a hijab to protect your private parts, it was a law relating to salah first, and then everything else second. Why? Because when Allah says, yuwari sawatikum, the idea here is that in salah, there are certain private parts which have to be protected. The concept of the awra within the human being is that when a male and a female come to pray, we find Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has a different hijab for the male and the female when they come to pray. When the male comes to pray, what is his awra? His awra is below the navel, just below the navel, from the front and behind, that area around the navel. Whereas the female's awra differs. When ulama come to discussing the awra of the male and female in salah, they use this verse. The female, every part of her body has to be covered except the hands and the face in salah. Otherwise, the rest of the body, the hijab has to cover. Some ulama go on to speak about the feet as well, but that's another opinion. Yet on this point that emerges, there is one major irony. And that is those who wear hijab in salah, but do not wear hijab for the rest of the day. How many do you find of the female world who observe hijab, for example, within the salah? The most beautiful hijab. Allahu Akbar. When they come to praying towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala 5 times a day, you find them observing the hijab. The protection is there. Yet the question arises is this, The question arises, is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only awake 5 times a day? Or does He not exist the rest of the day? No, only Salat al-Subh, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib and Isha. You find many come and observe the hijab. Yet as soon as the hijab is removed for Salah, back to the normal lifestyle on the street, we find that this irony can be seen when the human being is buried. In a narration which comes that states, when the female is buried, she is covered by the kafan. The angels, when they see her body, they smile, because they say, what is the point of asking for a kafan below the earth when you could not cover yourself with one above the earth? What's the point? If I ask now, those of us who may die tomorrow, may Allah increase our lives, but those of us who die tomorrow who have daughters, who have sisters, who have wives, who have cousins who do not wear hijab, will be the first at their salat al-mayyit. True? Will we take their janazah? Of course we will. Will we make sure that the body is covered by a kafan? Of course we will. Why are you concerned about the kafan when she went down? Were you not concerned when she was living in your house? Hussein ibn Ali on the 10th of Muharram has a number of things which he does, which shows to you how concerned he was with the hijab of his daughters and his wives and his family. And the problem in the school of Ahlul Bayt today is that some parents are more concerned that their daughters' teeth do not become black because of eating sweets, and are not concerned about their daughter's chastity in public. When I see my daughter at the age of 7 eating sweets, I tell her no more. She cries to me. She says to me, please, I want just a little bit more. I say, no way, no more. She cries and cries, but she doesn't understand the wisdom behind what I'm doing. The wisdom behind what I'm doing is I'm trying to tell her, if you eat this many sweets now, all your teeth will fall off. Only later on, when she reaches the age of 18 or 19, she says to me, thank you, Daddy. Thank you very much. Because you knew something which I didn't, I thank you for stressing on looking after it. What do the fathers of Al Muhammad say today? I don't want her to wear hijab. Why? Let her wear when she's ready. When she's ready, the problem is a relative statement. Those who say, how many do you see in the West today, say, but I am not ready now. I still want to have a good time. And then maybe later on, Hajj, marriage, and so on, then we'll get ready. That's when we'll wear hijab. Here you find that there is a lack of fathers and mothers in the world today who tell their daughter, come here and sit next to me. Oh, you who cried for Zainab. Oh, you who hold majalis for Zainab. Come sit next to me. I want to explain to you what your grandmother went through on the 10th of Muharram to make sure that you were able to be blessed with Al Muhammad's worth. That's why Imam al-Hussein, 10th of Muharram, I'll narrate to you 5 or 6 incidents on the 10th of Muharram, which showed you how much as a father he cared about not only his daughters that were there, but his daughters to come until the year 2007. 10th of Muharram. First, he asked his daughters to wear the maqani'. The maqani' were what? The maqani' were covers on top of their hijab. Why? Because he knew that he said to them, I may die. I might be killed. When I am killed, there'll be no one to protect you. They may come and try and snatch off your hijab, and when they come to try and snatch it off, you should already have a cover which is there. First thing. Number 2, when he was returning Ali Akbar. Ali Akbar had just been butchered. Imam tried to pick him up. The pieces were everywhere. He tries to pick him up. When he returns him to the tent, listen to what he does. He returns him back to the tent. When he returns him, Sukaina was within her tent. She heard Ali Akbar had just been killed. What did she do? Narration says she pulled her hijab off. But of course she's within the tent. She's within those who are mahram to her. She was just about to leave, as an 8-year-old, just about to leave the tent, because you can understand, when your big brother has just been killed in the way he has, you want to leave to go and receive his body. Her father said to her, Sukaina, ittaqillah, fear Allah, stay where you are. Why? He knows how pure she is, but he knows there is a moment where he has to tell her that stop, fear Allah, the way you're living there, I do not accept, I am your father. I know your brother has just been killed, but maintain hijab, do not lose it. Number two. Number three, when he is lying on the ground on the 10th of Muharram, a hadith narrates to us his body was full of arrows. He tried to move one way to try and put his body, but the arrows were on that side. He tried to move another way. And this is an example to all those fathers and mothers who live luxury lifestyles. Just for a moment, sit down and think what Abu Abdullah went through for you. Arrows on one side, arrows on the other. And he tries to lie down, but he can't. So he makes a small pit of sand and he lies on it. He lies on it. When he lies on it, they make an order. Shimr bin al-Jawshan makes an order. Go towards the daughters of Hussein and his sisters and pillage and burn their tents. With all the arrows on him, on that purest of bodies, with all those arrows, he tries to stand up and he falls again. And he tries to stand up and he falls again. And he comes out with a statement. He says, "O Shia of Abu Sufyan, if you are not free, if you are not going to be following a religion, at least be free men. Those ladies have not done anything to you. You want to kill me? Kill me." What was the one thing which made him stand up? The moment he heard that his daughter's hijab may be ripped off them. He couldn't take it. The Shia around Muhammad today, it's a norm. He goes to a wedding, he sees his daughter, his friend's daughter, every Tom, Dick and Harry's daughter sitting with him. And he finds that there's no problem, that there's no hijab, no problem. Whereas Hussein ibn Ali tries to get up and he falls, and tries to get up and he falls. Try having that many arrows in your body one day and see how concerned you would be. Then again, what does he do? Again, on the 10th of Muharram, there's a narration which is there, and even further than the 10th of Muharram, there is a narration that Sukaina comes to his body. When she comes towards his body, the only thing she says to her dad's body, she knows he has passed away. Do you know what she says to her dad? The only thing she says to her dad is this. She says, "Dad, do you know what they've done to us while you have died? They have tried to uncover us. They've tried to remove the hijab from us." Sukaina, talk about other things. No way. There's only one thing which is there to be discussed, my father, and that is the purity that you built in our house to protect our private parts. They are trying to remove it. That's why when they reach Sham as well, look at all these examples. Don't take Ashura and the 10th of Muharram as simply being a ritual. The 10th of Muharram was a day where legacies were built. The 10th of Muharram was a day where the human being reached the highest level of sacrifice. When they went towards Sham, they came in Sham. Sahal bin Sa'd al-Sa'di narrates, "I heard that there was Eid in Sham. I wondered, why is everyone happy?" They said, "Hussein has been killed." He said, "Hussein, grandson of Rasulullah?" Yes. He hurried and he saw Imam Zayn al-Abidin. When he saw Imam Zayn al-Abidin, Imam had the Jama'a which was around his neck. Imam saw Sahal, said to him, "Can I do anything for you?" Imam said to him, "Can you give me a piece of cloth?" He said to him, "Why?" He said, "I need to put that cloth between my neck and the chin because it's rubbing too hard on my neck." You know, Imam al-Baqir says, when I was washing my father's body, the mark 35 years later was still on his neck. So I don't know what type of chain they had put there, but the mark was still on his neck. He said to him, "Give me the cloth," and he put the cloth. Then Sahal saw Sukaina. Sukaina and the Imam were there, and they asked him to pay the person who's in charge of the heads. Imagine you're an 8-year-old and your father's head is on a spear in front of you. She said, "Can you pay the person who's in charge?" I said, "Why?" They said, "Because the people's eyes are all towards my father's head and therefore towards us. And we are brought up in a house where no one looks at us. Now the attention is all towards us. An 8-year-old has more concern, barefooted and tiptoeing." When I say tiptoeing, do you know why I say tiptoeing? Because they chained each of the companions through the neck. Now Sukaina was only 8. Maybe her auntie was taller, or Kulthum was taller, but Sukaina has to tiptoe because she's trying to keep up with the chain. But the only thing that keeps her going is that she says, "Remove the head from me." That's why on this area of protection of the private parts, there is a story narrated to Ayatollah al-Khuwaini, may Allah bless his soul, which is narrated that the people of Kuwait, and bear this in mind about the birth, protecting the private parts, The people of Kuwait used to come towards Najaf when a member of their family would die, and they would go and bury him in Wadi Salam, if it's a male or the female. I want every lover of Zainab and every lover of Fatima, from the male side and the female side, to please take this one story into their life. It's a first-hand story from Ayatollah al-Khoury. Take it into your life. Those of you who tonight, in honor of Fatima al-Zahra, want to wear the hijab, remember, wear it tonight. You'll remember it for the rest of your life. Says that he came with whom? With his sister, this person from Kuwait. He came and buried her in Wadi Salam. He left Wadi Salam to go back to the hotel. He had to fly away. When he returned back to the hotel, he remembered one thing. When he was burying his sister, the passport from his pocket fell in the grave. The passport fell. So what did he do? He was about to pick it up, but you know how it is when there's a janazah and a mayyit, it's packed. So people are busy, people are saying Salamu Alaikum to you, Inna Lillahi wa Inna Ilayhi Raji'un. He was about to go and pick it up. Someone said Salamu Alaikum. He went to say Salamu Alaikum. He forgot the passport. At the hotel, he recognizes, he says, I went to Ayatollah al-Khoury. I said to Ayatollah, I've already buried my sister. But in burying my sister, the passport has fell. Is there any way I am allowed to go and dig up the area to take the passport out? Ayatollah al-Khoury said to him, normally it's not allowed within fiqh. But he says, on this condition, try and do it quickly if you know where the exact place is, and please cover everything. He said, I agreed and I left. He said, I came towards the grave. He said, I started digging and I saw the passport, but I saw my sister's body without a kafan. He says, only an hour earlier there was a kafan. My sister had been buried with her kafan. So he said, now I saw her body without a kafan. I quickly dug up, went back to Ayatollah al-Khoury. He said, I said, Ayatollah al-Khoury, my sister, we buried her with a kafan. Now her body is completely naked. How? Ayatollah al-Khoury said, Rasulullah was right. He said, what do you mean? He said, Rasulullah was right when he said that the lady who does not wear hijab, when she dies, she will die naked without her kafan. When she dies naked without her kafan, because she couldn't observe the protection of the private parts in this world. Therefore the angels will not protect her when it comes towards the punishment of the grave. Therefore you find when Allah says we sent a hijab to protect the private parts, the first hijab instilled in Islam was what? The protection of the private parts. That's why in Surah 24 verse 58, the verse tells you that sometimes your private parts even have to be protected from your own children. Surah 24 verse 58 says, there are 3 times in the day where you have to observe a hijab with your children, and your children have to knock before entering your room. يستأذنكم الذين ملكت أيمانكم والذين لم يبلغ الحلم منكم 3 مرات من قبل صلاة الفجر وحين تضعون ثيابكم من الظهيرة وبعد صلاة العشاء 3 عرات لكم. What does this mean? 3 times in the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, you have to protect, even be mahram with your own children before they pass puberty. The idea being, before a child passes puberty, if we can have the child, sallu ala Muhammad wa alayhi wa sallam. I can't concentrate. I can't concentrate, I'm sorry. 3 times in the day, where they have to be protected from your children. You have to observe hijab with your own children before they reach puberty. Number 1, before Salat al-Fajr. Number 2, at the time of Dhuhr. Number 3, at the time of when? After Salat al-Maghrib. Why? Because it was recognized, number 1, that before Salat al-Fajr, sometimes when we are in our room, husband and wife, we may not necessarily be in the environment that our children should see. You know where I'm going. The idea that what we may be wearing may not be observing the right respect. Quran said, when before your children have passed puberty, they must knock and ask for your permission before Fajr, number 1. Number 2, at the time of Dhuhr. Why? Have you ever heard of siesta? Sometimes we sleep Dhuhr time. And so, again, there is an area where we may be in our room sleeping, and we may not necessarily be looking after the areas which are yuwari sawatikum, the areas of the private parts. So, Quran said, before your child passes puberty, at the time of Dhuhr, before they come and see you, they must ask for permission. Number 3, at the time of after Maghrib, and you all know why, after Isha, because of the fact that you are going to sleep, you may again be dressed in a way which you are allowed with your wife, but your children shouldn't see. Why do you think the West got so corrupted when the mother is walking around the house in a bikini? Sometimes there are daughters, even our own daughter-in-law sometimes walk around the house wearing these shorts and t-shirts, even when the father-in-law is there. Islam wanted to address the modesty, that there is an idea that there are private parts which have to be protected in order that there is a modesty built for the child as the child grows up. So the first area of the hijab was what? Yuwari sawatakum. The second area of hijab, warishan. What is the meaning of rish? Rish means feathers. And so Allah said the second reason hijab is instilled, or the second role of hijab, the first one, protect your private parts. Second one, to beautify you. Why is a bird proud of its feathers? Because the feathers are meant to beautify the bird. Likewise, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said with the hijab, that the hijab is a source of beautifying the human being. We made the hijab boring. We. Why? Because Islamic people today, the Muslims today, came forward with an idea that if someone is dressed with chicness and with nice tailored clothing and in a very modern way, they came forward and said, this person cannot be religious. No way. No way. In whose books is it written that a person can't wear the best of clothing? When our daughters want to wear a hijab which is chic, which is tailored, why cannot they wear? Who is going against it? Quran said that the second role of hijab is to beautify, sometimes even with the Maulanas, for example, or sometimes even with the religious figures. There is a tendency in our people to say, the more trendy the person, the less religious. The biggest load of rubbish. What's wrong with the person being with the times? What's wrong with the youth going out and buying the best of designer clothing? What's wrong? Why try and make a religion seem boring? One day Rasulullah sees Abu al-Ahwas al-Jashmi. What's the name? Abu al-Ahwas al-Jashmi. Rasulullah sees him, and he comes towards him. He sees he's wearing tattered clothing, ripped, baggy, no style. Rasulullah came to him and said, Abu al-Ahwas, aren't you a pretty wealthy man? He said, yes. He said, and you earn your wealth through halal? Yes. So why are you wearing clothes like this? Why don't you wear clothes of a much higher repute, something which is more valuable? Rasulullah said this on the revelation of the verse. Which verse? The verse in the Quran, وَأَمَّا بِنِعْمَةِ رَبِّكَ فَحَدِّثْ. When Allah gives you a ni'mah, don't be scared to show it. In our communities, if someone dresses nicely, they are unreligious. If they drive a nice car, unreligious. If they are modern, unreligious. Because we came with this whole idea which made the religion boring. A person came to Hassan ibn Ali. Hassan ibn Ali's clothing were expensive. Imam Hassan, his clothing were expensive. A person came to him and said, you're very different from your father. Your father, his clothes would be ripped. But you wear expensive clothes. First he made clear to him that his father's time was different. Imam Hassan, first thing, my father's time is different from mine. Number 2, Imam Hassan had a beautiful line. Inna Allah jameel yuhibbul jamal. Allah is beautiful and He loves beauty. Zayn al-Abidin used to wear a jacket, a long jacket, for the scholars. He used to wear it priced 500 dirhams. The image which we have caused with our youth, which made them run away from the religion, was that the more stylish and chic their dress, the more they are away. No, on the contrary, Imams of Al Muhammad had the most beautiful clothing, and at times spent for that clothing. There was nothing wrong in the spending. When our youth wants to go out today, if our daughter wants to wear a beautiful hijab, and she's covered her private parts, say the hijab is designed by Prada or by Armani or any of these. If it is, what's wrong with her wearing this? Why not? Why not? The religion said the hijab has come to beautify you. Even the Quran in the same surah comes and says, Ya Bani Adam, listen again, خُذُوا زِينَتَكُمْ عِنْدَ كُلِّ مَسْجِدٍ. Wear the zina when you go to the mosque. Wear zina. Allah has some zina which is halal, and there is some zina which is haram. We are not saying be extravagant. The only time your clothing becomes extravagant is when you are using it to show off. That's the only condition for you not to be wearing, is if you are using it to show off. I'm wearing this, you don't have better than me. My jeans are more stylish than yours and more expensive than yours as well. No, that is not allowed. But if someone comes forward, indeed it's ironic that when you read some of the books of history, you'll find some of these khulafa of Bani Umayyah, that in one case, Hisham bin Abdul Malik, go and read Hayat al-Hayawan, al-Damiri, go and see what he says about Hisham bin Abdul Malik. 600 people used to have to carry Hisham bin Abdul Malik's clothes. We're not saying be that extravagant. No. What we are saying is that when you wear the hijab, let the hijab beautify you. Islam should not fall in a trap of a person not being able to come and beautify themselves with the clothing that they wear. So in the second area, when the Quran came and said, it is a form of beautification. Hijab was used as a form of beautification. The third area of hijab is what? يا بني آدم قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى. The third type of hijab was different from the first two. The first two were physical, the third was social. Because we put ourselves in a world where we thought hijab is all physical. That's it. If you are a girl who wears full hijab in clothing, that means you're a good girl. No. There are some girls who wear full hijab, but their manners are atrocious. There are some girls who wear full hijab, but on the MSN, who knows who they're speaking to. Here we find that we look at the idea, hijab is a combination of the physical and a combination of the spiritual. And the idea that Allah said the third type of libas is taqwa. Is taqwa physical hijab? No. Taqwa is the hijab of the eyes. Taqwa is the hijab of the way you talk with those who are not mahram to you. That's why you find Fatimiya al-Zahra, salawatullah wa salamu alayha. Fatimiya al-Zahra, in the famous incident which has been narrated by many, when Rasulullah brings the blind man home. Fatima wears her hijab. And so Rasulullah asks her, in order that the hadith is heard by all, he asks her, "Oh Fatima, but the man is blind." She replies, "He cannot see me, but I can see him." I thought hijab was just cloth. No. Hijab of taqwa is where the eyes go. Those of you who have been to certain Gulf states, boy, they can wear everything, but those eyes can do more talking than anything else. Don't ask what I was doing looking. I was actually trying to look down. But the point here was what? The point here is that the eyes can sometimes do more talking. Fatimiya al-Zahra said what? She said, "He can't see me, but I can see him. That's it. My hijab is gone. Because I, as the daughter of Muhammad, have to be someone who lowers her gaze when I speak." That the hijab when you are with a non-mahram. Do you know how many weddings there are in communities today where a person comes and kisses, for example, a lady comes and kisses the groom. She says, "I've seen him grow up." Is he your nephew? No. Oh, he must be your grandson. No. Son, definitely. No. And what is he? Close family friend. Close family friend, we can't come and kiss. Yet you find it's normal within some communities that the hijab of the taqwa is not there. And that's why within the mixed gathering, one of the biggest problems that arises isn't whether a lady is covering her hair. That's not where the problem is. The problem is if every man is speaking to every lady within these gatherings, Salamu alaikum, one day can lead to other things afterwards. Who knows? The worst thing is that the people don't hear about it. It's only the Mawlanas who have to deal with it later on when the trouble occurs between the husband and his wife and the mistress. The reality here is what? That the more you're going to open the gatherings, the less the hijab will be observed. When Musa took Shu'aib's daughters back to Shu'aib, he knew he was not mahram to them. So he knew he couldn't speak to them the whole journey. So what did he do? Nabi Musa said to them, because I'm not mahram to you, this is what you should do. Get some pebbles and throw them in front of me. Wherever the pebble lands, I know is the direction towards your father's house. Musa, you are a prophet of God. You can just ask them, you can walk with them. You're not going to do anything. No. The same Nabi Musa is the one who said, Shaitan said to me that there are 3 moments where I am at my strongest. Number 1, when you want to give sadaqah, I stop you. Number 2, when you are angry, I make you more angry. Number 3, when you are alone with a woman, I am the 3rd of the 3. Don't talk to me. Get the pebble, throw them in front of me. Where the pebble lands, I will know is the direction to your house. That's why Nabi Shu'aib was so pleased with Nabi Musa's observing of hijab that you know what he did? He said, I want you to marry one of my 2 daughters. Because they told me you are strong when you lifted the water, and they told me you are trustworthy in the way you dealt with them when you walked with them in hijab. That's why the hijab of taqwa is not only the hijab of the female, but the hijab of the male. Because there are many males in the world today who lack the hijab of taqwa. When a male once come to Rasulullah, he said to Rasulullah in front of his companions, he said, O Prophet of God, I want to commit adultery. Rasulullah said, what? He said, I want to commit adultery. The companions got up to go and smack him. Rasulullah said, wait. He said to the young man, come walk with me. When they went to walk with each other, Rasulullah said to him something which is the hijab of taqwa. Not cloth, taqwa. Rasulullah said to him, you want to commit adultery? He said, yes. He said, would you like it if someone committed adultery with your sister? He said, no. He said, would you like it if someone committed adultery with your mother? He said, no. He said, then why do you walk around hunting everyone else's when you don't like it being done to yours? You going and finding girls from your community and taking them out behind their parents' back and chatting with them on MSN and texting them and on the phone with them, and God knows what you do with them. If someone done it to your sister, straight away the baseball bat comes out. Where is it? Where is it? Where is the one who spoke to my sister? Oh, so it's all right for you to go to everyone else's sisters, but for your own sister, no? The hijab of taqwa for the male was what? Was that I treat the females like my own sister. If I don't want no one touching my sister, I should not want anyone coming near every other female in the community. And therefore the hijab of taqwa was the 3rd hijab. And that's why Sayyidah Zainab was willing to give everything away just to ensure that these 3 hijabs were protected. Awn and Muhammad was not easy to lose. Your sons who you've seen blossom and grow up. Do you know what she says? She says, I never cried for them until I went back to Medina. Do you know why? She said, Abu Abdullah didn't have a mother there to cry for him. So she says, I had to take everything on board for Imam al-Hussein. She says, only when I had got to Medina, I saw their 2 mattresses in the house. And their mattresses were empty, and that's when I began to cry for them. It is difficult, but what did Sayyidah Zainab establish for us? She established for us the idea of the protection of the hijab. Because when Imam Zain al-Abidin was asked, what were the worst moments for you? Was it when Hussein was beheaded? He said no. Was it when Abbas's hands were cut? He said no. Was it when Akbar's spear hit? He said no. They said to him, then what was it? He said, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham, Ash-Sham. What happened to my auntie Zainab was the worst moments for me. They would come with their spears and hit her. They would whip her. They would chain her. They would throw rubbish at her. Imam says, I saw people throwing rubbish at her when she would walk. Yet she continued valiantly because it was her speech in the court of Yazid in Sham. It was that speech which was the foundation of hijab in the year 2007. Were it not for that speech, no daughter of Al Muhammad would have observed hijab. And that's why now when I narrate to you the whole speech, listen to it but contemplate. Because many of you in this hall today have been to Sham. I want you to take your body now today and your soul, take your soul to Sham just now. Those of you who have been to Sham, take yourselves to the court of Yazid and listen to the words of this grand lady and what she said in her momentous speech. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. All praise is due to Allah, Lord of all the worlds. And peace and blessings be on His Prophet. And Allah was right when He said, the evil will be the end for those who committed evil, because they rejected our communications and used to mock them. O Yazid, do you think that God has made you honorable and made us contemptible? Now that in your belief you have been severe towards us, you have blocked the earth's zones and the heaven's horizons, and you have left no solution for us. Do you think that your reputation before God has led you to victory? You strut with self-conceit and with pride. You crow with pleasure now that you see that the affairs of the world have turned for you, that our government is allocated to you, and that our affairs have been arranged for you. Get off your high horse. Have you not read in the Quran when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, let not those who disbelieve think that our granting them respite is good for their souls. Rather, we grant them respite so they may add to their sins, and for them there is a painful chastisement. O you whose father was freed by my grandfather. Listen to the wording. O you whose father was freed by my grandfather, is it just that you place your wives behind the curtain while the daughters of Rasulullah are taken as captives? Is it fair that you disgrace them and you unveil their faces so that all the people can see them, from the stranger to the acquaintance, from the noble to the noble, while none of their men are there to assist them or support them? How can one hope for sympathy and compassion from someone whose mother chewed the liver of the nobles and who was born from the blood of the martyrs? This is not rare for someone who has always looked down at us as adversaries. You look down at this mortal blow and do not consider yourself a sinner over this sin. You boast about your disbeliever ancestors wishing that they were present so that they may laugh at the screwful slaughter of Abu Abdullah. You strike the lips and the teeth of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Do you know what he used to do? He would play with the lips and the teeth of Imam al-Hussein next to him. You strike the lips and the teeth of Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, the master of the youth of paradise. And you have shed the blood of the progeny of his household, the sons of Abdul Muttalib, the heavenly stars on earth, and you wish your ancestors were present. She then says, we'll soon be patient, since soon you will be joining them. Then you'll wish your hands had withered away and you were dumb, so that you could not have acted what you acted nor said what you said. Oh Allah, give us our patience, and oh Allah, give us our due right, and oh Allah, send your chastisement on the oppressors. Then she said, Oh Yazid, by God you have cloven your own skin and flesh and blood. Soon you'll be meeting the messenger of Allah, where Allah turns distress into tranquility with the heavy baggage that you have. You have shed the blood of his house, you have taken his children as captives, and you have taken his children and killed them. Then she says, reckon not those who have died in the way of Allah as being dead, rather they are alive, receiving sustenance from their Lord. Enough for us is that Allah is the judge, Muhammad is your adversary, and Jibreel is the supporter. The one, listen to what she says, the one who paved the way for you to dominate over us will soon find out whose army is weaker and whose thoughts are inferior, and the retribution that will come towards him. Now listen to this line. Although the plight has made me speak to you, I find speaking to you of little value, but your scolding is great. Therefore I will continue to scold you. The eyes are tearful and the hearts are sorrowful. How ironic it is that the members of the party of God are killed by the members of the party of Shaitan. Our blood drips from their pores and our flesh from their mouths. How ironic it is that their bodies are alone in Karbala, next to the wildebeests and next to the desert wolves. What you take with you as booty today will be seen as indemnity tomorrow, and you will see what you have sent in advance. I do not complain to Allah and I trust Allah. Why? She says, Oh Yazid, however hard you try, you will never be able to obliterate our love and our memory from the hearts of the people. Look, until today, the people love Sayyidah Zainab and visit her. You will never be able to obliterate our love and our memory from the hearts of the people. Then she says, Oh Yazid, you will never be able to eliminate the stigma of this oppression. Your government is transitory and your ideas are unstable. Soon you'll be meeting Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where you'll hear the cry, أَلَا لَعْنَةُ اللَّهِ عَلَى الْقَوْمِ الظَّالِمِينَ. Then she says, we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who has given us happiness, and He then gave us martyrdom, and then He gave us blessings. Oh Allah, I ask you to give retribution to these martyrs. Oh Allah, I love you, and I thank you. When she gave this momentous speech, she shook the whole of Sham, and she took it upon herself to defend Imam al-Hussein. Yet when she was in the court of Yazid, they would come and constantly abuse her. Yet in one particular narration, it is narrated that while in the court of Yazid, Yazid was married to a lady by the name of Hind. Hind, this lady who he was married to, originally had been a servant of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And then she was in the house of Imam Hassan. When Imam Hassan was poisoned by Muawiyah, Muawiyah took her on board. When Muawiyah took her, she stayed in the house of Yazid. When she stayed in the house of Yazid, she was sitting in her house. Sham was in a state of Eid. When Sham was in the state of Eid, all of a sudden, her servant came towards her. When she came, she said, "Oh Hind, there is a group of people who have come. Why do you not get changed and come out and be ready?" So she got changed, she came out, she asked her servant, listen to her words. She asked her servant, she said to her, "Who are the people who have come?" And the reply came, "The people who have come are from Medina. We do not know who they are, but they have come as captives." So she said, "Welcome to the people of Medina," and she entered the palace of Yazid. She went and she sat on her throne. Sayyidah Zainab was chained and she was robed. Sayyidah Zainab was sitting in front of Hind. Hind looked at Sayyidah Zainab. Sayyidah Zainab looked at her. Sayyidah Zainab then looked at Kulthum. Sayyidah Zainab began to say to Kulthum, "Oh Kulthum, do you see that lady who she is?" Kulthum said to her, "I do not recognize her." Sayyidah Zainab said to her, "That lady is Hind. Do you remember she used to serve us when we were younger?" Allahu Akbar. When Hind came, she said, "Welcome to the people of Medina." She got off her throne and she sat on the ground. But she didn't recognize who she was speaking to. She said, "Welcome to the people of Medina." Sayyidah Zainab began saying to her, "Do you know any of the families of Medina?" She said to her, "There is only one family that I know in Medina who I used to serve when I was younger." Sayyidah Zainab said to her, "Which family was that?" She said, "The family of Ali ibn Abi Talib." Sayyidah Zainab said to her, "Which of the family do you want to know about?" She said, "Can you tell me how Abu Abdullah is doing?" She hadn't seen Abu Abdullah for a number of years. She said, "Can you tell me how Abu Fadl is doing?" She then said, "Can you tell me how Kulthum is doing? I saw her when she was younger." She then said, "Can you tell me how Sayyidah Zainab is doing? I haven't seen her for many years." Sayyidah Zainab looked at her. She said to her, "Abu Abdullah's head is on that spear over there." She then said to her, "Tell me, where is Abu Fadl?" She said, "Do you remember Abu Fadl's hands when you were younger? Do you remember embracing them?" She said, "Yes." She said, "Abu Fadl's hands have been taken away from him. His head is the one there." She said to her, "Where is Kulthum?" She hadn't recognized Kulthum. Imam al-Khomeini has a narration. He says, "In my dream one day I saw Kulthum. She was crying. So I said to her, Kulthum, why do you cry?" She said, "Tell my Shia that they remember my sister Zainab, but they never remember me. That I saw what she saw as well." She said to her, "Where is Kulthum?" The Imam at this moment, Sayyidah Zainab pointed towards Kulthum. She then asked the question, "Where is Sayyidah Zainab?" She said to her, "Hind, do you not recognize me now that I am in your court? Hind, do you not recognize my hair now that it's become white? Had you seen what I saw with Abu Abdullah, you would have cried as well." Hind began to hit herself. She took off her hijab. She ran in the court of Yazid. Yazid said to her, "How dare you take off your hijab?" She said, "You tell me about my hijab. How about the hijab of the daughters of Fatima al-Zahra?" إلا لله وإنا إليه راجعون سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون واللعنة الدائمة على القوم الظالمين. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the following dua. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إنا نرغب إليك في دولة كريمة تعز بها الإسلام وأهله وتذل بها النفاق وأهله وتجعلنا فيها من الدعاة إلى طاعتك والقادة إلى سبيلك وترزقنا بها كرامة الدنيا والآخرة. اللهم ما عرفتنا من الحق فحملناه وما قصرنا عنه فبلغناه. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to continue allowing us to have the strength to defend the hijab in the West. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow our sons and daughters to observe their hijab within the Western world. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be a reflection of the ladies who sacrificed their lives for Imam al-Hussein. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to be amongst the companions of Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman and to hasten his reappearance. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the originators of this majlis and all of their marhumeen who have passed away. We pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with the Surah Al-Fatiha, but before it, the loudest of salawat. For example, this summer, many of us will be going to weddings, and we may be going to weddings this summer of a particular way which is mixed. Like we may be in a hall where there may be many women, for example, who are observing the hijab of the cloth, but are talking with everyone in the community and are moving around from table to table. Or we may find men who move around from table to table, sitting with those who are mahram to them and those who aren't mahram. Our youth face a tricky dilemma in this area because a female or a male, sometimes the parents will tell them, you have to come with me to the wedding. The female may say, but mom, the family we're going to, we know there's no hijab observed in their wedding, and we know they mix freely. The mom or the dad may reply, yes, but they're our cousins, and if we don't go to our cousins, it's looked down upon. What is the daughter and the son meant to do? Are they meant to A, go with their parents to the gathering because of obedience to their parents? Or are they B, meant to tell their parents that the only reason Allah asked me to obey you was when you were obeying Him. The moment you disobey Him, I have to disobey you. Here is another dilemma which arises within the world of wedding. A fourth dilemma is with our cousins. If I was brought up with my cousin for 20 years, some will say, come on, it's like my sister. You don't really think anything's going to happen. But then am I allowed to touch her? Am I allowed to hug her if I haven't seen her for a while? If it's her wedding day, can I come and kiss her? Or no? Even though she's getting married to someone else, I've been brought up with her all my life. She's like a sister to me. Islam didn't say she's a sister. You said she's like a sister. And so here is another area with our cousins, a fifth area about وشفيع نفوسنا بالقاسم محمد طب القلوب ودوائها ونور الأبصار وضيائها وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين الصادقين. الحمد لله الذي جعلنا من المتمسكين بولاية سيدي ومولاي علي بن أبي طالب. الله. الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله. أما بعد، يقول الله في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: يا بني آدم قد أنزلنا عليكم لباسا يواري سوآتكم وريشا ولباس التقوى ذلك خير. The first of our loud salawat in honor of Rasulullah Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. The second of our loud salawat in honor of Amir al-Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib. The third with even louder voices in honor of Imam Sahib al-Asr al-Zaman. Respected scholars, brothers and sisters in Islam, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. The subject of the veil and female and male interaction within the world today is one of the most hotly discussed issues in the Islamic world. And indeed is an issue that has to be examined in depth in order that we are able to not only help ourselves understand the boundaries that have been set, but also help others understand the philosophy. A case of a female prison guard. A female prison guard wants to work within the prison system. She was banned from working because according to the prison system, a lady cannot observe the veil while protecting closed bars. And therefore, when you look at this area, the area is of the utmost importance from this angle. Socially, it's of the utmost importance because on a daily basis in our communities, we come forward and discuss male and female relationships, and we seek to define an understanding of what is the meaning of mahram and na-mahram. In our discussions, we come forward and we see on an everyday basis there is a question being asked. For example, in the world of work, how many of us come and ask the question that if a lady comes forward to put her hand to shake our hands, are we expected to hold our hand back? Or do you really expect us to come and wear gloves? Or do you really expect us to move away when this deal is worth millions? Here, some people ask the question that surely I am causing ridicule towards that lady, because when that lady comes to shake my hand and I move my hand away, she may be affected by my course of action. And so we face on an everyday basis at work this question, that if I am coming to shake the hand of a lady, or indeed for our sisters, when they go for an interview at university, or when they go for their graduation ceremony at the university, you're at your graduation ceremony, and you're coming to pick up your certificate, and the person puts his hand up who's the dean of the university. If you shake his hand, everyone moves on in life. If you do not shake his hand, people may look down at you. So you find in the world of work, we encounter the problem. You find in the world of education, we encounter the problem. You find within our own communities, we encounter the problem of the veil within the world today, and indeed within human history. Hence we notice when we discuss this area, many human beings seek to understand what are the boundaries of male and female relationships. And the idea that the human being is a social animal. The microphone's too high. The microphone's too high. And the idea that the human being is a social animal and therefore constantly interacting with the opposite sex. Yet then the discussion arises as to what is allowed in interaction and what is not allowed. There is a need for a person to understand within the world of jurisprudence when they have to observe a veil and when they are allowed to remove the veil. With whom do they observe this veil and with whom do they not have to observe this veil? And the idea that there is much controversy in many communities as to certain rituals which we undertake and the observance of certain rituals, and whether these actually accept the hijab or reject the hijab. And indeed, the topic which is being discussed on the veil is a topic which has political as well as social connotations. Politically, the subject of the veil and male-female interaction is a subject which is discussed within many political circles in the world today. For example, you find that France has placed a ban on the veil, and in their own opinion, the veil should not be worn in certain institutions. And you found that this brought about much controversy. And until today, in virtually every circle in the world, there is a discussion about the veil. For example, at Imperial College University in London, there was a major controversy about whether a Muslim female should be allowed to wear the veil where everything is covered except her eyes. The veil that is known as the niqab. And whether this female was allowed to enter the examination hall with such a veil. You find, therefore, that Jack Straw, who is part of the parliament, came forward with a statement looking at the concept of the veil. You found it in France. You even found it only within a week of passing in Quebec, and indeed in Montreal, where there was an 11-year-old female Muslim soccer player. 11-year-old female Muslim soccer player who took part in a tournament by the name of Ammar Nakshawani. She took part in this tournament, and she plays with a team where the majority of the players are not necessarily Muslim. And she plays in a tournament which wasn't organized by Muslims. In the first two matches, she was allowed to play without anyone complaining. Yet then what happened was, in the third match, the referee, who ironically happened to be a Muslim, came forward and said to her that you are not allowed to play because according to the regulations of the tournament, a girl who wears hijab cannot be on the football pitch. Therefore, you found that there was uproar which was caused. And the uproar was caused mainly because of the support she received from her fellow players. The fellow females who weren't even Muslims said, if she doesn't play, none of us play. And it highlighted to you the power of the veil within Western circles. That those other players who do not wear a veil recognize that this is our friend. And there is more to the veil than meets the eye. There is more to this human being than meets the eye. And therefore they all left the tournament and said, we forfeit all our matches. Likewise, you had in Canada as well, there was a tournament where 5 female Muslim women took part in Taekwondo. And when they took part, they were also banned from taking part because, again, it was against regulations. And recently, again in Montreal, there was the